The hidden power of dark psychology. Are you being controlled? What if I told you that someone in your life is using dark psychology on you right now without you even realizing it? Not through obvious threats, not through violence, but through invisible psychological techniques designed to manipulate, control, and deceive you while making you believe it was your choice all along. This is the dark side of human psychology, where people don't just influence others, they dominate them. And the scariest part? Most people don't even know it's happening to them. In this series, we're exposing the 4 main types of dark psychology that manipulators use every day. Deception psychology, the art of lying so well that the victim believes it. Emotional manipulation, using guilt, fear, and love to control people. Mind control and persuasion, the techniques that make people obey without thinking. Psychological domination, how master manipulators take full control of their victims. Once you understand these 4 dark psychological techniques, you'll be able to see manipulation before it happens and protect yourself from those who try to control you. But before we begin, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like someone was playing with your emotions, making you doubt yourself, or slowly pushing you into doing things you didn't want to do? If so, you may have already been a victim of dark psychology. Deception psychology, the art of lying so well it becomes the truth. Have you ever been lied to so convincingly that you started to doubt your own reality? Maybe someone told you a story that felt true, even though deep down something seemed off. Maybe you caught someone in a lie, but they denied it so confidently that you started questioning yourself. If this has happened to you, you've already been a victim of deception psychology. This is the first and most dangerous form of dark psychology, because once someone controls what you believe, they control your entire perception of reality. And here's the terrifying part. The best liars don't just hide the truth. They rewrite reality to fit their version of the story. They use psychological tricks to make their lies feel more believable than the truth. They make sure that even if you catch them, you still question yourself. And if you think you're too smart to be deceived, think again. Because deception psychology is a science, and master manipulators use it every single day. The 3 psychological tricks that make lies seem true. Most people think lying is just about saying something false. But real deception is much more complex. Here's how manipulators make their lies believable even when they're completely false. 1. The illusory truth effect. Why repetition makes you believe anything. Have you ever heard a lie so many times that you started thinking, maybe it's true? This is called the illusory truth effect. Studies show that when people hear the same statement repeated over and over, their brains start accepting it as fact even if they knew it was false at first. Politicians, advertisers, and media outlets use this to shape public opinion, repeating the same messages until people accept them without question. Manipulative people use this technique in relationships, business, and even friendships, repeating false narratives until the victim stops resisting. The more often you hear something, the more familiar it feels, and the more familiar it feels, the more true it seems. 2. The lie sandwich. How manipulators hide lies between truths. If someone told you a 100% false story, you'd probably catch it. But what if they mix small lies with real truths? This is called the lie sandwich, a technique that makes deception harder to detect. The manipulator starts with something true to gain your trust. They insert the lie in the middle so it blends in. They end with another truth so your brain remembers the conversation as honest. Example: you know, I've always been honest with you. Truth: I never took money from your account. Maybe you miscalculated. Lie: you can even check our past conversations. I've always been upfront. Truth: your brain remembers the truths at the beginning and end, and the lie in the middle slips through unnoticed. 3. Gaslighting, making you doubt your own memory. We talked about gaslighting before, but in deception psychology, it's a master trick. A skilled manipulator won't just lie. They'll make you believe that you're the one who's mistaken. Example: you're imagining things. I never said that. You always get things wrong. Over time, this technique rewires your brain, making you trust the manipulator's version of events over your own. And once that happens, they own your mind. Real-world examples where deception psychology is used every day. Deception psychology isn't just used by toxic people. It's used everywhere by businesses, politicians, and the media. In advertising, marketers use false urgency to trick people into buying. Limited time only. Even though the product is always available, 95% of people love this product. But who are these people? In politics, leaders use repetition and narrative control to shape public perception. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually believe it. A famous propaganda tactic. In relationships, toxic partners rewrite history to avoid accountability. I never said that you must have misunderstood. You're crazy for even thinking that happened. The key to deception psychology? It's not about what's true. It's about what people can be made to believe. How to defend yourself against deception psychology. If someone controls what you believe, they control your actions. So how do you protect yourself? 1. Always fact-check repeated statements. If you hear something over and over, don't assume it's true. Ask yourself, where's the proof? 2. Look for the lie sandwich pattern. If someone gives you a mix of truths and lies, separate them. Ask, what part of this statement do I actually know is true? 3. Write things down. Gaslighters thrive on confusion. Keeping written records of conversations makes it impossible for them to rewrite history. 4. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Your subconscious picks up on deception before your conscious mind does. The ultimate question: how many times have you been deceived? Now that you understand deception psychology, think back. Have you ever been lied to so well that you believed it? Have you ever doubted yourself even when you knew you were right? Have you ever been manipulated into thinking you were the problem? If so, you've already been a victim of dark psychology. And if deception is just one of the 4 types of dark psychology, what else are manipulators doing to you? Emotional manipulation: how they use guilt, fear, and love to control you. What if I told you that the strongest manipulation doesn't come from deception? It comes from your own emotions. Manipulators don't always need to lie to you. They don't need to force you. They just need to make you feel. Guilt so you feel obligated to do what they want. Fear so you believe you have no other choice. Love so you ignore the red flags and stay loyal to them no matter what. And once they have control over your emotions, they control you. This is the second type of dark psychology, emotional manipulation. And the scariest part, most victims don't even realize they're being controlled. How emotional manipulation works: the psychological breakdown. Emotional manipulation is based on a simple principle. When people feel strong emotions, they stop thinking rationally. Psychologists call this emotional hijacking. Your brain prioritizes feelings over logic. You make impulsive choices just to relieve emotional pain. You feel like you're choosing to obey, but in reality, you're being controlled. And master manipulators know exactly how to trigger these emotions to get what they want. The 3 most common emotional manipulation tactics. 1. Guilt tripping, making you feel like the bad guy. Have you ever been manipulated into doing something because you felt guilty saying no? A toxic friend asks for money, and when you hesitate, they say, "Wow, after everything I've done for you?" A manipulative partner gets caught lying, but instead of apologizing, they say, "I guess I'm just a terrible person, huh? Maybe I should just leave." A controlling family member pressures you into doing what they want by saying, "I raised you, and this is how you repay me." Guilt is one of the most powerful weapons in dark psychology, because when someone makes you feel like the bad guy, you'll do anything to prove you're not. 2. Fear-based control, making you afraid to say no. Fear is the ultimate tool of control. Abusive bosses make employees afraid of losing their jobs. Toxic partners make their lovers afraid of being alone. Scam artists use fear tactics like, "If you don't act now, you'll regret it." When you're scared, you don't think, you react. And that's exactly what manipulators want. Example, a controlling partner might say, "No one else will ever love you like I do." At first, it's just words. But over time, you start believing it. You stay not because you want to, but because you're afraid to leave. 3. Love bombing, making you emotionally addicted. Some manipulators don't control you with pain. They control you with pleasure. This is called love bombing, when someone overwhelms you with affection, attention, and gifts to make you emotionally dependent on them. At first, it feels amazing. You feel special, chosen, irreplaceable. You get addicted to the attention. Then suddenly, they pull away. They start acting cold. They make you chase after their love. Now you're trapped in the cycle. You don't want to lose the good times, so you tolerate the bad ones. And before you know it, they own your emotions. Where emotional manipulation happens every day. Manipulators use emotional control everywhere, not just in relationships. In business, salespeople use false urgency to make you panic buy. Only 2 left in stock. Act now. In politics, Leaders create fear-based narratives to gain more power. In social media, influencers use emotional appeal to make followers trust them blindly. And because strong emotions override logic, most people don't even realize they're being played. How to defend yourself against emotional manipulation. If someone controls your emotions, they control your actions. So how do you stop them? 1. Recognize the emotional trigger. The next time you feel guilt, fear, or emotional addiction, stop and ask, did I choose to feel this way? Or is someone making me feel this way to control me? If the answer is yes, you're being manipulated. 2. Control your response. Manipulators want a fast reaction. Pause. Breathe. Think. If you delay your response, you take away their power. 3. Set boundaries and stick to them. You don't have to justify saying no. You don't have to fix other people's emotions. You don't owe anyone your obedience. A manipulator's biggest fear is someone who knows their worth. The ultimate question: who has been controlling your emotions? Think back. Have you ever felt guilty into doing something you didn't want to do? Have you ever been too scared to stand up for yourself? Have you ever chased someone's love, even when they treated you badly? If so, you've already been emotionally manipulated. And if this is just one of the 4 types of dark psychology, what's the final and most extreme manipulation technique? Psychological domination: how master manipulators take full control. What if I told you that some manipulators don't just want influence over you? They want total control. They don't just use lies to deceive you. They don't just use fear to make you obey. They don't just use guilt and love to trap you emotionally. They want to reshape your thoughts, identity, and actions until you no longer think for yourself. This is the darkest form of manipulation, psychological domination. And once you fall into this trap, escaping becomes almost impossible. How psychological domination works: the breakdown. Psychological domination isn't about one technique. It's a system, a series of mind games designed to break down your defenses, destroy your independence, and rebuild you into someone they can control. Master manipulators use 4 steps to achieve full control over a person. Step 1. Isolate you from outside influence. Step 2. Destroy your sense of self. Step 3. Create total dependence. Step 4. Make you believe you want it. Once all 4 steps are complete, the victim willingly obeys without even realizing they're being controlled. Step 1. Isolation: cutting you off from reality. Manipulators don't want competition. They know that if you're surrounded by friends, family, and independent thinkers, someone might wake you up to what's happening. So the first step: cut you off from outside influence. In relationships, they slowly pull you away from friends and family. In cults, they convince followers that outsiders are the enemy. In high-control workplaces, they create an us versus them mentality to make employees distrust outsiders. And once the victim has no one left to turn to, they become dependent on the manipulator for reality. Step 2. Identity erosion: breaking down who you are. Once you're isolated, the next step is to destroy your confidence and self-trust. They criticize everything about you: your intelligence, your decisions, your emotions. They humiliate you, making you feel small and powerless. They blame all problems on you, making you feel like you're never good enough. This technique is called ego destruction. When someone no longer trusts themselves, they look for someone else to tell them who to be. And that's exactly what the manipulator wants. Step 3. Creating dependence: making you rely on them for everything. Now that your confidence is destroyed, they start building you back up, but only on their terms. They make you emotionally dependent, treating you badly, then suddenly giving you love to keep you hooked. They make you financially dependent, discouraging you from working, making you feel like you need them to survive. They make you mentally dependent, convincing you that they are the only one who truly understands you. At this stage, you feel like you can't leave because you wouldn't survive without them. And that's exactly what they want you to believe. Step 4. Willing submission: when the victim no longer resists. This is the final stage. At this point, the manipulator no longer needs to force, threaten, or deceive. The victim wants to please them. The victim defends their abuser. The victim becomes an active participant in their own manipulation. This is called learned helplessness. When someone has been controlled for so long, they stop trying to escape because they truly believe there's no way out. At this point, the manipulator has achieved total psychological domination. Where psychological domination happens every day. This technique isn't just used by toxic partners, it's used by governments, corporations, and social movements. In abusive relationships, Toxic partners systematically break down their victims' independence until they feel trapped forever. In cults and extremist groups, cults use isolation, mental exhaustion, and dependency to reprogram their followers. In high-control work environments, some companies push employees into submission through exhaustion, emotional manipulation, and social isolation. And the worst part, most victims never realize what's happening because they truly believe they are making their own choices. How to break free from psychological domination. If you ever feel like someone else is controlling your life, your emotions, or your decisions, it's time to take back your power. 1. Reconnect with independent thinkers. If someone is trying to isolate you, it's a red flag. Seek out outside opinions, trusted friends, therapists, or neutral sources. 2. Rebuild your confidence. Write down everything you've accomplished on your own. Remind yourself that you were strong before they entered your life. 3. Question everything you were told. Ask yourself, did I always believe this? Or was I conditioned into thinking this way? Independent thinking is the enemy of psychological domination. 4. Plan your escape. If you recognize the signs, start creating a way out. Manipulators will try to make you feel like you can't leave. But the truth is you always can. The final question, are you in control of your own mind? Think back. Have you ever felt like someone slowly took control of your decisions? Have you ever doubted yourself so much that you started relying on someone else for answers? Have you ever felt like leaving a situation was impossible even though you knew it was toxic? If so, you've already experienced psychological domination. But now you see the game. And once you understand these tactics, they stop working. Final thoughts: how to stay free from dark psychology. Now you know the 4 types of dark psychology manipulators use to control people. Deception psychology, they lie so well that you believe it. Emotional manipulation, they use guilt, fear, and love to control you. Mind control and persuasion, they make you obey without realizing it. Psychological domination, they reshape your entire identity until you no longer resist. The key to protecting yourself? Awareness. The moment you recognize manipulation, it loses its power. What to watch next? If this opened your eyes, there's more to uncover. Because dark psychology isn't just used by individuals, it's used by entire industries. In our next video, we reveal how social media and digital marketing use these exact same psychological techniques to keep you addicted, obedient, and spending money. If you're ready to take back control of your mind, watch now. Because manipulation doesn't stop in relationships. It's everywhere.